The conversation happening right now in Chicago is something nobody saw coming 6 months ago, and it involves a name that has haunted Bears fans for nearly 2 decades. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, the channel where you get the absolute latest news, insider breakdowns, and everything happening with our beloved Chicago Bears. I'm here every single day, living this team just like you are, tracking every roster move, every game plan adjustment, every strategic decision that could define our season and our future. And today, I'm diving into a situation that's equal parts shocking, controversial, and potentially franchise-altering, involving a quarterback whose relationship with Chicago has been anything but friendly, but whose future might be taking a turn that absolutely nobody predicted. Before I get into the specifics of what's been circulating behind closed doors, and why this matters so much to our trajectory as a team, let me paint the picture of where we stand right now. The Chicago Bears are sitting at a position we haven't experienced in years. We're competitive, we're winning games, and we're finally seeing the fruits of Ryan Poles' rebuilding process start to materialize. Caleb Williams is showing flashes of brilliance as our franchise quarterback. Our defense has been opportunistic when it matters most, and we've managed to stack wins even when the games haven't been pretty. But here's the reality that every honest Bears fan needs to acknowledge. Our schedule has been favorable, to put it mildly. The teams we've beaten have a combined record that doesn't exactly scream playoff contender. And we haven't yet proven we can beat the elite teams in this league when everything is on the line. That's the context we're operating in as we look ahead to the back half of this season, and more importantly, to the future of this franchise. Ryan Poles has made it clear that he's committed to building something sustainable here, something that can compete year after year rather than just having one lucky season. And part of that process involves making difficult decisions, evaluating every position on the roster, and being willing to think outside the box when opportunities present themselves. The quarterback position is obviously the most important spot on any football team, and while we're all invested in Caleb Williams' development, the front office has to be thinking about every possible scenario that could accelerate our championship window. Now, I need you to stay with me because what I'm about to discuss is going to sound absolutely insane at first. In fact, when I first heard whispers of this possibility, my immediate reaction was disbelief. But the more I've thought about it, the more I've analyzed the strategic implications, the more I've considered where both parties are in their respective situations, the more I realize this isn't as crazy as it sounds on the surface. We're talking about a veteran quarterback who has dominated the NFC North for nearly 2 decades, who has more wins against the Bears than any other opponent, who has become the ultimate villain in Chicago sports lore. And yet, circumstances are aligning in a way that could potentially bring him to Soldier Field wearing navy blue and orange. Let me give you some background on why this conversation is even happening. Aaron Rodgers is currently dealing with a significant injury situation that has his status for upcoming games in serious doubt. Reports indicate he's dealing with a wrist fracture that could sideline him, and at 41 years old, every injury raises questions about how much longer he can continue playing at a high level. His current team situation is complicated, to say the least. There are tensions, there are questions about fit, and there's an increasing sense that his time with his current organization might be coming to an end sooner than anyone expected. Meanwhile, the Bears are in a unique position where we have a talented young quarterback who could benefit enormously from learning behind one of the greatest to ever play the position, even if that position is occupied by our longtime nemesis. I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about all those years of frustration, all those losses at Lambeau Field, all those smug comments and touchdown celebrations that made our blood boil. You're thinking about the "I own you" moment, about all the times he carved up our defense like it was a practice squad. And I get it. I really do. The emotional reaction to even considering Aaron Rodgers in a Bears uniform is visceral and intense. But I'm asking you to put those emotions aside for a moment and think about this purely from a strategic football perspective, because that's what Ryan Poles and the front office have to do. Here's the scenario that's being discussed in certain circles around Hollis Hall, and I want to be clear that this is still very much in the exploratory phase. Nothing concrete, nothing imminent, but conversations that are happening nonetheless. The idea would be to bring Rodgers in on a short-term deal, maybe 1 year with a team option for a second, as a veteran mentor and insurance policy behind Caleb Williams. You wouldn't be here to be the starter. You wouldn't be here to take snaps away from our franchise quarterback. He will be here to provide the kind of veteran leadership and quarterback wisdom that you simply cannot replicate any other way. Think about what Caleb could learn from watching Rodgers prepare, from seeing how he reads defenses, from understanding his pre-snap process and his ability to manipulate coverage with his cadence and his eyes. Now, I can already hear the objection, and they're all valid. Why would Rodgers agree to be a backup? Why would he come to the team he's dominated for so long? Why would the Bears want to bring in someone who represents everything we've hated about the Packers dynasty? These are all legitimate questions, and they deserve serious answers. From Rodgers' perspective, he's at a point in his career where he has to start thinking about his legacy beyond just statistics and wins. He's already a Hall of Famer. He's already won a Super Bowl. He's already cemented his place in NFL history. But what he hasn't done is show that he can be a mentor, that he can help develop the next generation, that he can contribute to building something rather than just being the centerpiece. Coming to Chicago, helping turn around a historic franchise, and playing a role in developing a young quarterback who could be special, that's a legacy move that transcends the rivalry. From the Bears' perspective, the calculation is even more interesting. Yes, there's the emotional baggage, and yes, there will be significant backlash from portions of the fan base. But think about what we'd be getting. One of the most intelligent quarterbacks to ever play the game. Someone who could work with Caleb Williams on a daily basis. Someone who could provide instant credibility to our quarterback room. And someone who, if we're being honest, could still probably play at a high level if called upon in an emergency situation. The injury concerns are real. The age is a factor. But we're not talking about signing him to be our starter for the next 5 years. We're talking about a calculated short-term move that could accelerate our young quarterback's development while providing veteran insurance. Let's also talk about the financial aspect, because that's always a crucial part of these discussions. Rodgers is at a point where he's made hundreds of millions of dollars in his career. If he's interested in this kind of mentorship role, he's not going to be commanding top-of-the-market money. The Bears could potentially structure a deal that's team-friendly, that doesn't hamstring our salary cap, and that allows us to continue building the roster around our young core. Ryan Poles has been masterful with cap management since taking over, and if anyone can structure a deal that makes sense for both sides, it's him. There's also the competitive angle to consider. The NFC North is as tough as it's been in years. Detroit is loaded, Green Bay is always dangerous, and Minnesota has pieces. If the Bears are serious about competing for division titles and playoff spots in the immediate future, having someone like Rodgers in the building, even in a backup role, sends a message that we're all in on winning now. It shows Caleb Williams that we're surrounding him with the best possible resource. It shows the locker room that management is serious about competing. And it shows the rest of the league that the Bears are done being an easy win on the schedule. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Would this actually work from a personality and culture standpoint? Rodgers is known for being demanding, for having strong opinions, for not always being the easiest teammate. Matt LaFleur managed it in Green Bay, but there were tensions. The question is whether Matt Eberflus and the current coaching staff will be able to manage that dynamic, whether Caleb Williams has the personality to benefit from that kind of intense mentorship rather than being intimidated by it, and whether the locker room culture we've been building could absorb someone with Rodgers' profile. These are legitimate concerns, and they're part of why this remains a complex decision rather than an obvious slam dunk. But here's what I keep coming back to. The greatest organizations in sports are the ones willing to make unconventional moves when the situation calls for it. They're the ones who can separate emotion from strategy, who can identify opportunities that others miss because they're too caught up in conventional thinking. The Bears have spent decades being predictable, being conservative, being afraid to take risks. Ryan Poles has shown he's different, that he's willing to be aggressive when the situation calls for it. And if he determines that bringing in Aaron Rodgers, even with all the baggage and complications, gives us the best chance to accelerate our timeline and develop Caleb Williams into an elite quarterback, then I trust him to make that call. So here's my final analysis on this entire situation. Is it likely to happen? Probably not. There are too many obstacles, too many moving parts, too much history to overcome. But is it possible? Absolutely. And is it worth considering from a pure football standpoint? I genuinely believe it is. The Bears are at a crossroads where we need to maximize every advantage we can get, where we need to think creatively about how to build a championship contender, and where we need to be willing to make moves that might be uncomfortable but could ultimately pay enormous dividends. Aaron Rodgers in a Bears uniform would be one of the most shocking moves in NFL history, but it would also be a statement that we're done accepting mediocrity, that we're willing to do whatever it takes to win, and that no idea is too bold if it helps us achieve our ultimate goal. Now I want to hear from you, Bears fan, and I want you to be completely honest. If Ryan Poles called you right now and said he could sign Aaron Rodgers to a one-year deal as Caleb Williams' mentor and backup, would you support it? Could you put aside the years of rivalry and frustration for a move that might help our franchise quarterback develop faster? Or is this a line you simply cannot cross, regardless of the potential benefits? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is the kind of debate that defines fan bases, and I genuinely want to know where you all stand. If you made it this far, smash that like button to support the work I'm doing here every day. Subscribe to Bears News Fan Report so you never miss a breaking story. And hit that notification bell because I'm bringing you the latest news and deepest analysis on our Chicago Bears. This is our time to build something special, and I'm here to cover every moment of it with you. Bear down, always.